Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Siegel, and I'm your host today for a conversation sponsored by Life Insurance for You. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the $25,000 sale anchor that can really provide you with the secret to high conversions. We oftentimes think about what is that client looking for? And we do it oftentimes into the conversation of, oh, let me show them the cheapest thing possible. In fact, one of the things that has a habit of killing our commissions is that we are quote slingers. What we're looking to do is quote them the absolute lowest, cheapest policy possible for whatever it is they're trying to buy or whatever it is I'm trying to sell. We've taken it down to we provide no value for what we're doing. It's simply based on who can give them the least expensive price for the policy that they think they want to buy, and that's their decision is going to be. However, the reality is we really need to think about bringing a value added to the equation. Not simply the fact that we are a counselor, not simply the fact that we represent multiple insurance carriers, more along the line of what can we do for you that other people are neglecting when it comes time to taking care of your life insurance needs. Today, we're really going to be talking about a concept, a strategy, a way of approaching the entire life insurance industry, if you will, based on a simple $25,000 life insurance policy. And the thing is that $25,000 is a nice amount of coverage. It's not too much. It's not too little. Everybody understands 25,000. You're going to get more responses from a $25,000 quote. You're going to get more replies from a $25,000 quote. And you're going to get people who are going to say, I'm looking for more. But that's okay because that's a response. That's an engagement. That's just saying, I like what you're showing me. Tell me, show me more, which is what you're looking for in a sales relationship. What we want to think about doing, real simply, is think about setting up a scenario where we're talking to them about that $25,000 base policy because they're going to look at it and say, I understand pricing. But more importantly, what we're looking to do is to instill from that consumer a feedback fairly quickly in the sales process that, yes, I'm interested and let's talk further. And one of the ways to do that is to basically understand that in today's world, as we've discussed and will continue to discuss throughout the upcoming weeks and months, inflation is the evil, if you will, because inflation erodes that ultimate death benefit. It erodes the principle of sleeping at night, knowing that I've taken care of them, when in reality, what's going to occur is that my death benefit is not going to be sufficient enough based on my past and what the future will hold. And so, what we want to think about is how do we present to that client an opportunity to future proof their life insurance? Most people are simply interested in, let me show you what a policy is. Let me show you a cost, not what it's going to do for you. We ask, what are you trying to accomplish? And they tell us that. And then we simply say, okay, we can do that by this product or that product or this product. But when the customer's asking for $50,000, and a lot of folks that we're talking to today are asking for that $50,000 or that $40,000 or that $75,000. They're looking at really much more of a permanent type of a program than a term. And so for us, we have to shift a little bit about how we're working with that client. It's one thing when we've got somebody who's interested in buying a big block of term because we know that there's opportunities for them to really receive a price discount. When you buy $250,000, the price per thousand is discounted. When you buy $1 million of term, the price per thousand is discounted. But you know what? When you're working with permanent policies, they don't have those kind of discounts. That 50,000 is really half the cost of 100, and 100 is half the cost of 200, and so forth and so on. They don't discount it for the most part based on how many thousands you're buying. So that kind of goes away a little bit when we start talking about permanent policies. And when we start talking about permanent policies, we have to understand that at that point in time, they're really thinking about that long term scenario, not simply that short term 15, 20, 30-year perspective that a term may bring to them. So when we're looking at that $50,000 request, we want to think about how do we engage that client in such a way that we can basically be able to move forward in a very prompt manner of addressing their needs. And the first way, of course, is to get around the point of saying price is the primary function. It's not. It's basically, what are you trying to accomplish? Can I show you ways to do that, thereby gaining your trust and acceptance, and then taking you to the next step of simply saying, if you're ready, let's go ahead and apply and see what happens from there. There are many ways to take a person to close. The key component is to remember to do so as promptly as possible. When you start quoting, when you start talking pricing, this is the time we want to take them to close because they have the information they need to move forward and move and take that application in theory and know what they're going to spend. I say theory because obviously it depends a lot on what their health is. When someone's asking for 50,000 and you're sending them out a quote for 25,000, one of the things that's going to pop in their head is, I wonder why they sent it to me. And number two, I want 50,000. And so sometimes you're going to get a message back saying, please send me 50,000. Once again, looking for engagement. But I want you to think about this. I want you to understand the lead you're working. The lead you're working is hot for about 300 seconds, 5 minutes. When that lead hits your system, you've got 5 minutes to start that relationship. Long texting, forget about it. It's out. They're not going to read it. It no longer works. Sending them schedule links no longer works. They're not interested in that. It's too complicated. It's too much to read. But you do want to text them as soon as that lead comes in. So why not do it a little different way? Why not do it by basically saying to them, John, I just sent you our starter program for $25,000. You want to see the protector plan? Love to show it to you. Simply say, yes, the protector plan that keeps your spending power from shrinking. Yes. In other words, what you're looking to do with the text message is to make it short, sweet, and simple where they can send you a yes, move forward. Oh, now you have them. The yes indicates the actual yes, proof of reality. And text of, oh, let me show you all the quotes in the world. You've given away every sauce that you have. It's not working. That's becoming a quote slinger. Not what you want to do. You don't want to basically burn them out by calling them 3 times and 3 times. I will tell you something. Google tries it to me and it makes me mad. It's why I won't talk to them. And we spend a ton of money at Google. So when you're thinking about how to work these leads, those hard pressure sales aren't going to work. You're going to make them mad, not make them glad. There are things that we have changed over time. We used to talk about making those 3 calls instantaneously. Today, we don't. Today, we talk about making that initial call, but more importantly, today, reversing it, sending that text first. And even reversing that, sending them that quote for $25,000. Listen, I just sent you our starter program for $25,000. Would you like to look at the protector program that keeps your spending from shrinking? Yes. You want to monitor that response. You're going to get people who are going to say yes. Those people you want to call instantaneously. If they don't respond yes within 30 seconds or a minute, pick up the phone and make that phone call. Oh, listen, hey, I was trying to follow up, sent you out some information, like to talk to you a little bit further. What we have to understand is yes, there's a 10-day window of which we know that we can open up a conversation. But these leads are not library cards. They're not, let me check them out. And whenever I want to return them, whenever I want to respond, that customer's going to be there. Far from the case. These are people who have an interest now. And you know what? It's just like watching television. 15 minutes later, it's a new commercial. Not that they're responding to a commercial, but 15 minutes later, they're thinking about something different. Yes, we need to call them today. We need to call them tomorrow. But more importantly, we need to understand that first hour that lead exists is something we want to reach out to them and do so with a strategy that is different and an understanding of what they're looking for. The reality is that we find the bulk of our leads are open in that first 48-hour window. Yes, we're going to open leads in day 6 and we're going to open leads in day 7. But if you haven't talked to them, if you haven't got a response from them today when you get that lead, the chances of them wanting to talk to you go into the low of not wanting to do so. Yes, we send out text, we send out an email introducing you. Yes, we try to help you engage them. The reality is that it takes an effort on everyone's part to be successful. And what we've done in the past hasn't necessarily generated the same type of response we would like to generate. Our methodology of calling, texting, and quoting fully gets us so far. Now the question is, how do we take those next steps? And the reality is to change a little bit about what we're quoting. 3 companies for that 25,000. I just do it universally. Make it simple. Keep it simple, salesperson, something we have not always done. Regardless of what they're asking for, show them a $25,000 quote. More often than not, it's going to be permanent because guess what? There aren't 3 insurance companies that offer term at $25,000. Not that I'm aware of. I could be wrong. So we're going to be talking about more permanent policies. Now, the great thing about permanent policies is they come in 2 different versions. Not only simplified and fully underwritten, absolutely, but they come in those that just provide benefit or those that provide benefit and cash accumulation. And when you start getting that 50,000, you start becoming eligible for those policies that not only have a death benefit, but also have a cash accumulation. You can develop an emergency fund. You can help utilize this to supplement retirement if you really fund it properly. If not, at least it's a death benefit with the option of doing that. That's a lot more bang for my buck than simply, oh, I've got a $25,000 policy that only pays when I die. Or only have a $50,000 policy that only pays when I die. Which for $5 more or $10 more on that $50,000 policy, maybe I have one that accumulates cash. The value is what you have to sell. Don't be a quote slinger where the pricing is what you're showing and thinking it's what they need to buy. Because it's really amazing. People have color television sets almost exclusively today. They could watch the same thing in black and white, might look a little different. People have big screens televisions, 75-inch televisions, 85-inch televisions. Do you think they could get the same in a 45-inch or a 40-inch or a 36-inch? People have refrigerators that dispense water out of the door because they don't want to keep the water in a jar or something in the refrigerator because they can't put ice in a cup and go get water from their sink or whatever the case may be. Need, want, desire. It's important that we understand that people are interested in protecting their family. Price plays a part of it, but it's not the deal. The deal is, what am I getting for the bang for my buck? What do I need in order to make sure that I've got the proper peace of mind long term, take care of my family? And that's going to vary from customer to customer. Some people are going to say 50,000 is what I want to spend, but look, I can spend 25,000 and it fits my budget and I know it will do the same thing. Let me buy that. Or people go, I need 50,000. But when you explain to them that if inflation is 4%, and that's more than it is today, so let's just make it simple. Let's just make inflation 3%. That at basically the end of 17 years, you've gone through almost 40% of whatever it is death benefit you had, because inflation is a compounding thing. It's 3% on this and 3% on this and then 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%. So it's a compounding effect. And people don't always think about that in the past. It's not something that has been a factor for most of us, but today it's something that hits us in the eyes. We might as well talk about it. Start a program, 25,000. That's not enough. I'd like to get a 50,000. Can you send me another quote for that? Now you got somebody interested in talking to you. Isn't that what you're looking for? 25,000, that's a good number. Let's move forward. I sent you a quote for 25,000. Would you like to see quotes for the protector side of the series of protecting so that your spending power stays the same? Yes, no. You want to utilize your text messaging as not a way of saying, hey, I'm trying to call you and why aren't you reaching back to me? Or this is my life history and I've been in this business since 1986 and I've millions of dollars worth of life insurance and I understand most health issues and I can take care of all of your needs. And if you're interested, please give me a call. No value. None value. In fact, basically, the time it took you to copy and paste that or to type it was basically a complete waste of time. Keeping it short, keeping it simple. This is what gets your response in today's text messaging. It's bringing the sizzle to the equation, utilizing the fact that I get the eyeballs and that they have been overstimulated and data overload. Would I like to see a protector? Would I like to see a way of protecting my death benefit from inflation? Sure, I would. Yes. You're the only one sending that text. You're the only one talking about the fact that we can make sure that their spending power stays the same. It starts by understanding that lead short-lived. 300 seconds from the time it enters your system, and it doesn't enter your system if you're not logged in. 300 seconds to get them information. Send me something that I'm interested in. Oh, that 25,000, it's not what I was looking for, but oh, those prices are nice. Okay. Well, let me talk to you because let me get some idea of what that 100,000 is going to cost that I'm looking for, or that 50,000 that I'm looking for, or how to make sure that I can provide the same spending power for my family. When you get someone who replies yes to your text message, what you've got is somebody who's made a commitment to at least take that step further of moving forward and talking to you. It also gives you an indication they're real. It gives you an indication I have high intent. And for them, it's easy. It's a click. It's a why. How simple is that? Keep it simple salesperson not only applies to what we talk about or the information or the volume of information that we give them. It also talks about the fact that we have to make it simple for them to understand and simple for them to respond to us. The simpler it is for them to respond to us, the more likely they're going to do that. The reason we chase leads It's because oftentimes we're waiting beyond that 5 or 10 minutes to make that initial contact. I can't tell you how many times I review leads and go, oh, lead came in, they waited an hour, they waited 2 hours, they waited 3 hours. Yeah, I was speaking to somebody the other day. They were they were actually at a doctor's office receiving leads because they didn't log off the system and put unavailable. So they were basically stockpiling people who were not going to talk to them because they weren't going to be ready for another 2 or 3 hours to make that initial contact. These are not library cards. It is far better not to receive the lead than not to work it. I think that made sense. It's far better to work the lead when it's prime rather than have it sit there and just cost you time. Because you got to make the phone call. People buy today because I'm interested in today. I want somebody to respond now, and I want somebody to give me a reason to move forward with them. And it's not, oh, I'm an agent. Oh, I got this 50 years of experience and I can give you all my phone numbers and I can tell you I'm licensed with 180 different companies and I've taken care. They don't care. It's too long. They're never going to read it. It's okay. I understand what you're looking for. I've got some programs. Can I show them to you? Yes. I showed you 25,000. It's a great starter program. Would you like to see more that we have to offer? Yes. Or no response, pick up the phone anyway. Understand that in today's world, it is that first hour or two. Yes, you're going to reach people that evening time. Absolutely. You're going to talk to people some the next day and the next day and the next day. But the bulk of it is happening in the 48 hours, probably 60% of it. You don't want to lose 40% of your business by not making the rest of the calls. But wouldn't you like to increase your 60% that you're reaching out to? Wouldn't you like to make that time that you're spending on the phone more productive by including text messages that they're reading that they're going to respond to? Not just that they're reading and going, oh, this is great. That doesn't serve the purpose. In my career selling life insurance, there have been three major events that have created earth shattering changes to the good for what we do. The first was mortgage protection. It's where I started. And the first major change in mortgage protection is, oh, we could do direct mail because when I started mortgage protection, we had to go directly to the door. So the first change was direct mail, getting those leads coming in and be able to go out and visit with those folks versus having to go out and just knock on doors and not knowing who we're going to talk to. First change. Second change, of course, was when the mortgage market crashed, 2006, 2007. We moved to the internet, which is where we are today. And now the third change is utilizing today's technology, which we've always done, to help fine tune, to help direct, to help us understand where we can do better. And part of that is letting us know that our core concepts are accurate. Three sets of three is actually the right way to go. Little different though, don't show it to them all at the same time. Show them the base plan. Just like the folks who talk about things you can buy. Oh, you can buy the base plan for free. You can buy the base television set for $200. It doesn't have a tuner. You can buy the base car for XYZ. It doesn't have the sunroof and it doesn't have the leather seats, but we can put that in for you and we can talk about those items. The base plan, the starter plan. Show them what that is. Let's start those conversations there and build upon them. Worst case, you run a $25,000 policy. I'm going to tell you, most of those are going to be final expense policies. Most of those are going to come in and out pretty quickly. Those $50,000 policies are going to be a combination. Some of those are going to be final expense. Some of those are going to be fully underwritten. And of course, when you're working with the term, all that's going to be underwritten. When you go to that 100, 150, 250, 500,000, $1 million death benefit, makes no difference. You can still sell that term with that $25,000 permanent policy. If they're asking for 250, still show them that 25. Well, I was looking for 250. No problem. I'd just like to show you what an idea of what the base plan is that we have. Let's talk about that 250 that you're looking for. We can even talk about what it really takes to inflation protect it and really start back at 375 or 500. There's no wrong answer there. This way it makes it simple. You don't have to think about what am I going to show them? What plans am I going to show them? Real simple. Three sets of three. It's where we always have worked with. But two sets of those three you're going to hold on to yourself. What you want to show them is that $25,000 base plan. Three different companies involved in that. Makes it simple. Today, people don't really understand life insurance. They don't know the difference between term. They don't know the difference between final expense. They don't know the difference between IUL or GUL. Too many terms. Death benefit's a death benefit. And that's somewhat true. And so for us, we have to understand that it's not the quote that brings that agent, or excuse me, brings that client to us, agent. It's really the value added of what are we showing them is available, and then letting them make a decision as to which one of those options are best for them. The starter program, the foundation, the bottom line, which is what we're showing everybody. The accumulator, that $50,000 policy that's going to accumulate cash because we're going to write it with a carrier who's going to offer that opportunity, not simply just a final expense program. Or the protection, the legacy guard, the program that makes sure that because we understand that inflation erodes the actual spendability of those death benefit, that it's written at such a dollar volume that even though inflation is still going to erode it, the spending power is going to be the same or exceed what they were looking for today. So there's a couple of things to think about. One is it's very important that you send those quotes instantaneously. 25,000, three sets of three. Well, three different companies, I should say, and that 25,000, change it a little bit. You can send that text instantaneously right after that if you'd like to change it up a little bit, or you can call them, one of the two. If you send the text though needs to be, just sent you a $25,000 starter program. Are you interested in looking at the protection program, the protector builder, or the legacy program that helps make sure that the spending power stays the same throughout your life, or something in that vein? I've got some terminology that I can send out to you for those of you who would be interested in a little text message to be able to do that. And then third, of course, is remembering that if they don't respond to that first text, and they're not responding to your telephone call, and they're not responding to that base $25,000 quote, three quotes, hour or two later, don't wait 6 or 7 or 8 or 10, hour or two later, send them a little another little text message. Sent you out a little starter program. Want to make sure you saw it. Like to talk with you a little bit further about what your needs might be. What we want to think about is maintaining the opportunity of working with them and understanding that in today's world, it's that really 48 hours that we have to concentrate on. It's not, let me make that initial burst. Let me make that phone call and send out that quote and send out that text. And then I don't have to call them again because they've got everything they want to do and they know how to call me. You're living in a world that doesn't exist, because people aren't going to do that. They don't look at that as being professional, incidentally. They look at that as not wanting their business. You want their business? Be proactive. Send them those quotes, make that text message, make that phone call. If they don't respond, call them again in an hour. Or more importantly, I say send them a text message in an hour, perhaps, and make a phone call. And then do it again later that day. Yes, we want to try to reach out to them in that first 5 days continuously, and then perhaps every other day after 5 days after that. But most importantly is to remember that that first 5 minutes is the key to success. And that if you're not going to make that phone call in that first 5 minutes, click unavailable in the system or don't log in. You're wasting your time. And maybe your time's not valuable. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you think, oh, it's always great for me to get leads and I'll work them when I want to. But remember, this is not a library card. This is a program where now is already too late for the people that sent in a response at 10 o'clock this morning. Now is already too late for the people sending a response at 11 o'clock this morning. People are looking for someone who's got something to offer to them beyond simply price. Price is a commodity. And if you're going to play with price, you're going to lose because somebody's going to come in less expensive. That's the rules. I've been playing this game a very, very long time. And I can tell you, you never have the cheapest price. And if you do, it's not for long because they're always playing games by 10 cents or a quarter or a dollar to try to make it more competitive. And that's just the nature of the beast, if you will. So you have to show them more than just price. You have to show them what is available, what it can do for them, and how it can benefit them. And it all starts with the base plan of $25,000 to each person, sending them 3 quotes for that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked a lot today about something a little different. Sending out 3 quotes of 25,000, using those text messages as a way of introducing yourself quickly, getting them to respond with a yes, I want to move forward, because that's what you look for in the text message. Not information, not who I am, not let me call you, not pick a time to discuss. I want a yes. I want you to tell me that you want to engage with me because I've got a concept that you like. Doing that is going to take you from a quote slinger to writing big blocks of premium on a consistent basis. And ladies and gentlemen, isn't that what it's all about? I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you today. I know there's a lot of other things you could have done besides spend it with me, and I want to thank you. Want to wish everybody good selling and look forward to speaking with you again soon.